The first thing that sprung to mind tonight with Arsenal when watching them was Open Play FC, ole ole. Open play again, ole ole. That's all I kept on thinking. 2 goals from open play for Arsenal. I have no idea what the mainstream media is going to moan about now. I have no idea what the mainstream media is going to kick off about now. Genuinely, I don't know. I wonder what they're going to do. I wonder what they're going to say to have a go at Arsenal. But there were a couple of very interesting stories for Arsenal tonight, and the first is about the team. They have had the most perfect October. This month could not have been any better had they tried. 2-0 win over Olympiacos, 2-0 win over West Ham, 1-0 win over Fulham, 4-0 win over Atletico, 1-0 over Crystal Palace, and 2-0 tonight against Brighton. 12 goals scored, 0 goals conceded, 6 wins. 6 wins in that period. Absolute perfection from Arsenal. Again. And they didn't rotate like Liverpool did tonight. It was far more conservative. It was far more... it was much closer to the first team. But they did have some young players. A young player that I'd never heard of because I'm not an Arsenal fan, even though I get called out for it. Young Harriman Anus, I think is how you pronounce his name, up front, 17-year-old. Dowman started. Nwaeri started. We'll talk about him in a minute. The rest of the team, of course, Lewis Skelly's still a youngster, but he's been the first team a year. And then it was the fringe players, really. Kepa in goal. I thought Kepa tonight was fantastic. A lot of people laugh when they paid the few £1 million for him. If he plays like this in the handful of games he gets, it's going to be a really good steal at that price. Ben White came in, looked very comfortable. Henkupe with his first start for the club. I think it was his first start for the club. I thought he looked very, very comfortable. Miles Lewis-Skelly, I actually thought was a little weak on the ball at times in the first half. Was a little bit bullied at times, but he grew into the game and got back to his very best. Norgard, I thought was okay. I thought he looked a little bit rusty, if I'm being honest. Moreno, very, very good. What he did for the build-up to the goal, we'll touch on in a moment, but very, very good overall tonight. I loved watching Dowman. I didn't actually think Eze had that good a game either until the goal, which we'll touch on. The young striker, as I mentioned, played well, could have scored. The rebound from his shot was tapped in by Bukayo Saka for his first goal in the Carabao Cup this season. But Dowman, to me, I just loved watching him tonight, picking up the ball, dribbling at fullbacks. The excitement you can hear at the Emirates every time he touches the ball. He behaves like a seasoned pro. He grew into the game. Probably should have won a penalty as well, but I thought a really good performance for the 15-year-old. I mean, he literally is. He's on half term this week. It's absolutely crazy when you when you break that down and when you think about it. But I thought he was solid. And it's the young players. The crop of young players that Arsenal currently have is daunting, is dangerous. They're set. Genuinely. Max Dowman. I thought we already know about Miles Lewis-Skelly. Miles Lewis-Skelly is such a phenomenally talented player. He'll have his moments. And I like actually this season that he's been on the bench a lot and being bled in. I think you can overplay youngsters sometimes and we can all get carried away with the hype around them, no matter how good they are, and overplay them. And problems can then ensue, both physically, mentally, and a motivational issue. And I really like the way he played. Nwaeri tonight, I'd have mentioned that up until this point. I thought he had a fairly quiet first half. But again, Brighton, very compact, very, very hard to break down. Didn't really want to do much open play attack, and it was very much on the counter. And they had a couple of very good chances to actually take the lead. If it hadn't been for very good goalkeeping and the closing of the angles from Kepa, Brighton might have actually gone in at half-time a couple of goals up. Arsenal weren't able to break them down. Second half, you could just see, I think Arteta probably gave them a little bit of a rocket, a little bit of the hairdryer treatment, and they came out and just moved the ball a little bit quicker. And within the first few seconds, you just see a different Nwaeri. He was driving at the back line of Brighton. He was going inside, outside, threading balls left, right, and centre. He looked very, very dangerous. And the opening goal was a thing of beauty. Eze with some wonderful, intricate skill on the left. He plays the ball into Merino with a delicate, a sumptuous back heel that plays in Miles Lewis-Skelly, who cuts it back. And this wasn't a tap-in from Nwaeri on the left-hand side. He has to use his left foot, guides it to the far corner, I think it lightly brushes the post and goes in. And it was a fantastic play. It was from goal. It was from open play as well, which just made me laugh with all the conversations in the last few days. And then what happened is Brighton did start to open up a little more. I've got to give Brighton credit. They tried to win the game. They made some big substitutions about 5-10 minutes later. They went for it. They had their openings. They had their opportunities. I think they had 18 shots on goal today. 6 of them on target as well. Obviously not Arsenal's first team, but it's a cup match and you expect more of that. But Arsenal stood in strong. And there's another player that I want to speak about, and I've left it to this point time on purpose, was Mosquera today. I thought Mosquera was majestic. I thought Mosquera was just fantastic. There was 2 or 3 times, especially in the second half, where balls had been given away by the Arsenal midfield or during an attack, and he was left isolated defending one-on-one. Made his tackles, won his duels, he got blocks in. Fantastic signing this player is. They've got Saliba and they've got Gabriel, who are phenomenal talents, and they're going to be the mainstay for another 2 or 3 years. But to have Mosquera as a backup, a player of that quality, you've got to remember they're playing a Premier League team tonight with Premier League players, although it's a cup game. And I thought he was absolutely outstanding in how he played. I really, really did. And he should be proud of himself. And the recruitment this summer, coupled with the promotion of these young players, Arsenal was set. And I still think they're going to become a more fluid and more dangerous team throughout the course of this season. And there were just moments in that second half where you saw it. And the second goal was part of that. Saka had only been on the pitch 5 minutes, but it was a wonderful drive forward with the ball from Timber. The ball then gets fed through to the young striker that I mentioned already. I want to say his name right. It's Harriman Anus. I think is how you pronounce the name. And I felt a little sorry for him. He's 17. He kind of second-guessed himself and he stuttered a little moment in his step. By the time he got to the ball, the goalie had closed him down. I think he might have scored if he just went with his full flow. But the ball ricochets out, and I probably played it down a little bit. It wasn't a tap in from a few yards. It's a good touch from Saka, gets the ball out of his feet, and he buries it. They hit the post late on as well, Arsenal, and they could have made it 3. And although tonight Brighton did have more shots than them, if you actually watch the game back, barring those opening 2 or 3 counter-attack opportunities that led to shots, they were very good chances. They could have taken the lead, there's no doubt. And you could see this, a little bit of rustiness in some of the fringe players. And almost, it's one thing that can happen in League Cup games. You put in 3 or 4 youngsters, 3 or 4 fringe players. None of them have played together very much. It just took a little bit of time to get them gelled together. But outside of that, a lot of those shots from Brighton, a lot of those 18 shots were P-rollers, ones that were skied over the bar. They weren't really testers. And even quite a few of the shots on target, they weren't forcing Kepa into world-class saves because they weren't very good shots. So it's important to understand the context of it. But overall, look, Arsenal tonight, clinical again. Some of these young players are absolutely phenomenal, and they can compete on all levels this year, Arsenal. There's no doubt about it in my mind. They can compete on every single level. And what I mean by that is, I'm not saying they'll win all 4 tournaments. That would be a crazy thing to say. But they have the ability to win whatever they want to this year. If they can maintain composure, get the rotation right, stay as injury-free as possible, because that always plays a part, this could be an historic season for them. Because games like tonight, where you've rotated and brought in youngsters, it was this exact same team 3 seasons ago. I think when United went on to win it with Ten Hag, Arsenal got beat 3-1. They're now rotating to the same degree, but the team is just stronger. The team is just better. And that always gives you the chance of winning 2 or 3 or whatever trophies a season. But look, hit the like buttons. Please let me know what you think and what you feel in our comments section below. But Arsenal win again.